Hey all, Grollo here. Got a technical topic today, one that's come up more than a few times. Can AI help us deliver software faster? And especially of particular interest to my audience, can it help us deliver video games faster? A recurring theme on Spectrum or Reddit or in the Ashes of Creation forum or their official Discord server or YouTube or wherever you look is how damn long it's taking to build these games today. We've talked about this on this channel numerous times, quite a bit. And I myself, as recently as the last video, have gone on about how tooling or the lack thereof is part of the problem. And I firmly believe that tooling has not kept pace with the demand for complexity in a lot of cases. Just as an example, in the old days of backend, like the back end of an application was typically a server. Now, over time, that became multiple servers and then fleets of servers and then geographically distributed clusters of servers and then edge compute. And if I just lost you there, don't worry about it, because the point is that as that explosion of complexity was happening, tools were being built to manage it. Virtual machines, containers, infrastructure as code, serverless deployments, the list goes on, right? Well, what about AI? It's basically the ultimate tool, right? Couldn't it help accelerate the building of some of this stuff that needs to be built, similar to how the tools I just mentioned helped us to handle the growing complexity of systems? If you listen to Microsoft's CEO, you'd certainly think so. Let me roll this clip for about 2 minutes. I'm going to do about 2 minutes of this video, and I'll link the original below so you can watch the entire thing in case it piques your interest. Here we go. Let's
applications.
Hold on a second. My headphones on. All right.
Exist. That's probably where they'll all collapse, right, in the agent era.
Microsoft's CEO Satya Nadella said apps as we know them are going away in favor of agents. And this is a huge statement. He basically put a flag in the ground showing where the future of software development is going. No more applications, which means no more SaaS, which also means likely far fewer developers. So let's watch the video and I'm gonna break it down for you. So this is on the BG Squared podcast. I'll drop a link to the full interview down below.
SaaS applications or biz apps. So let me just speak of our own dynamics thing.
Right.
The approach at least we're taking is, I think the notion that business applications exist, that's probably where they'll all collapse, right, in the agent era. Because if you think about it, right, they are essentially CRUD databases with a bunch of business logic.
Okay, I'm gonna pause there because what he just said might sound like no big deal, but it is actually a stunning proclamation of the future. What he essentially said is that SaaS, and that means software as a service, is essentially just a thin UI layer on top of a database. And when he says CRUD, that means create, read, update, destroy. Those are the base units of interactions between an interface and a database. So create a new record, read, extract information from the database, update, make a change to an existing record, and destroy, delete. So all he's saying is there's going to be the underlying database, the fundamental data of what you need, and then it's going to be agents that are interacting directly with the database. And if you've been watching this channel at all, you know I've been talking about this for a long time. I truly believe the entire application stack is going to disappear. There just really is no need for it when you have artificial intelligence interacting with the core grounded data that sits within a database. And again, what does that actually mean for the entire SaaS industry? What does that mean for application developers? I don't know exactly, but I have a feeling it's going to look vastly different than it looks today.
Whew. That would look a lot different. um, Now, as I listen to that, I'm scratching my head. Uh, if you contain the set of applications that he's talking about to form like business applications, I can maybe see a little bit of what he's saying if I squint. As long as you're willing to tolerate like what AI hallucinations could do to your business data, I guess. But if you expand this to all applications, like that's insane. I'm still gonna need video players. I'm still gonna want games. I'm still gonna want to browse a shopping app casually as I lay on the couch. I'm still gonna want a music player. Voice and text interfaces are great, but they're not everything. The human eye can consume a lot of information very quickly, far faster than the ear can, especially when that information is presented well. And so even agents that know how to work our business apps, like we're still going to want interfaces to present that data for like rapid human eye consumption. It's like maps in your car, right? We've had spoken directions for a long time. Why do people put a map on the dashboard? Right? Same thing. So if we're going to have all these interfaces still, that sounds a lot like apps to me. And AI agents sound like they're just going to be complementary, like another layer or option. And that's exactly how it will be in software development. Another tool in the tool belt, but not the kind you might think it'll be. If a picture is worth 1,000 words, then surely a live demo is worth even more than that. So let's take AI for a spin to help illustrate where I'm taking this conversation. Okay, so here we are in ChatGPT, and I've got a prompt here. Write me a service in Dino that can persist items in player backpacks. Each item should have a size and weight, and the backpack should limit the size of any one item while also limiting the total weight of all items. All right. And let's send this, see what it does. And if you're not a developer and you could care less about code and that type of thing, don't worry. We're going to keep this part short and sweet. We just want to see what AI does for us here. All right. I've created a Dino service that allows players to store items in their backpacks while enforcing size and weight constraints. Let me know if you need modifications or additional features. Let's see how I wrote this. Okay. Boarding, blah, blah, blah. So basically what we have here is it has written an HTTP web server that has, and by HTTP web server, I mean just like, a typical server you would go to online, like google.com. How you do like slash whatever. So it's written a web server with slash add item and slash get backpack. And so it looks like if you call this server slash get backpack, you're going to get the backpack for the given player, which comes after the slash get back. So it's going to be like slash backpack slash an ID for the player. When you do that, it's going to return all the contents of the backpack. The other item is slash add item, which we can post a message to and add something to the backpack. It looks like it is storing the backpacks in a variable up here. It's just a map of string and backpack. So the string is going to be the ID of the player, and that'll store the backpack. And then it's got a function here for adding an item to the backpack, and it looks like this is where it's checking the constraints of size and weight. And then it's got this other helper function down here that will just fetch the backpack, give it a player ID. Okay, this all looks very simple. Now it should go without saying that like this won't scale at all. This is doing everything in memory, so there's no way for this to scale to more than one process. It would be okay for just sitting here and playing around on our local computer, but there's no way in hell this is going to do anything out there. So we're going to have to spend time evolving this. Maybe we could say I need this to scale to 100,000 concurrent players. What would it do with that? What changes should we make? Bringing in an actual database now. Okay. I've updated the service to use Redis for scalability, allowing it to handle 100,000 concurrent players more efficiently by persisting backpack data in a distributed in-memory store. Let me know if you need further optimizations. Let's see how it did that. Imported Redis mod. And it's connecting to Redis, and now the add item to backpack is being added into the backpack.items array, and then that entire backpack gets turned into a string and shoved into the database. Get backpack has been updated so that it reads a big string from the database, deserializes it, and sends it back to the player. So the stuff down here hasn't changed much at all. This is a fine step forward. I don't know if this is a 100,000 player step forward. It's connecting to a single Redis instance, which, depending on the amount of traffic, like a single Redis instance is not going to scale infinitely. In any large scale deployment, you're going to need a bunch of Redis instances. You're going to want it to shard the data over like a fleet of Redis servers so that no one Redis server is handling all the load. Again, assuming you're even using Redis. That brings me back to one of my points. Like, one of the limitations of AI is that it lacks all the context that we take for granted. So like, if you give a human this task of, hey, we need a backpack service, the human is automatically going to know all the context that they have developed over years of working at your company. They're going to know what the patterns are. They're going to know what the database is. They're going to know what teams are doing what, and they're going to automatically be able to reach out to these teams and collaborate. And like, AI has none of that context. It lacks all the ability to collaborate. Not only that, but when you say we need to scale it to 100,000 players, like, it comes back with this super simple approach. Now, if you are a non-developer and you are trying to coach AI into building you something that will actually work, you're not even going to know when AI is giving you a correct answer or not. So in order to use AI effectively, you already have to be a very good developer capable of building this yourself. Like, if you're not capable of building this yourself, then you're not going to know when AI is giving you a good answer or not. And so in that way, like, AI is not the tool that you might think it is. Now, another thing is It's setting this up as an HTTP web server so that like every time you want to add something to the backpack or fetch the backpack, you have to establish a connection, an HTTP connection to this. If you know anything about networking, like that is a pretty slow process in the grand scheme of things. No game developer is going to use HTTP for the super low latency communication that they need between clients and servers. They're going to set up something much lower latency with much less connection overhead, a persistent nailed up connection, something like that. Now, any game developer is going to know that. They're going to have that context. AI, I don't even know if it's really inferring that we want to build a game when we say players and backpacks, right? It might be thinking we want to write a web application to do this. Like all the context is missing. Now we can get more elaborate with our prompts, and that'll bias a little bit, but it's not going to go the distance. On top of choosing a poor communication protocol, the code organization is just terrible. This way that it's setting up the routes. I mean, this is a very super manual, low-level method of setting up routes. This is definitely a place it should have chosen to use some kind of a web server framework like Express or something along those lines. The separation of concerns is just not here, where like you want clearly defined layers between like your model layer, your communications layer, your business logic layer. Like all these things should be cleanly separated out. Like that's how you create maintainable code. Again, none of that here. This is just a big jumbled, muddled mess of code that may or may not work. I mean, we'd have to move it over, which we can do here in a moment. But you get my point. Like, and again, as a non-developer or as a very junior developer, like you're not really going to be cognizant of those things. You might look at this and think, "Wow, AI gave me a functional solution," but again, it's not. This is not good code organization. It's not gonna scale technically or organizationally. Maintenance is going to be a nightmare. Testing this is probably going to be a nightmare. Performance is going to be a nightmare. But again, that's not to say it's worthless. Now, before we move on, let's see if this actually works. Let's take the database connection now because I don't want to set up a database. Let's we just Control Z this. Yeah, restore this version. Okay. We're back to the version without the database connection. It's just the in-memory map. Let's copy this. Let's bring up our editor here. Paste this in. Whoops. Do this. Paste this in. Do Dino. Everything. Cool. Let's go back here and say and give a curl command to test something to the backpack. This is stuff AI is actually really good at, by the way. All right. Got a curl command. Let's go back here, make us another terminal. And this one, paste this curl command in. Item added successfully. Go back here. There's another curl command that we can use to get the backpack we just added an item to. Run that. There we go. Uh, make this a little bigger. And then again, so when I run this get command /get backpack /player123, it's actually returning items, which is an array, and it's got item 1, which is a steel sword, size 5, weight 10. Okay, so it actually wrote us a service that's functional, which is not always the case. There's been many a times where I went to run the code that was just delivered to me, and it had hallucinated some method or function that didn't exist. Now, anyway, I've laid out a lot of things that are not great about what AI is doing for us here, but that's not to say it's worthless, because what we do have is something, right? Something in front of us, and that is something. Like, that's worth something. Again, depending on what you were trying to do, it may or may not work. But at the very least, it's gotten us past that cold start phase where you're kind of staring at a blank page. You're not sure what to type first. So what AI has done here is it's basically presented us with a straw man. If you've never heard of a straw man, it's like it's like some people want to do something, and doing anything by committee, as you well know, can take forever. So instead, you'll often send one person off. They'll go off and they'll cobble something together, like a prototype, something that does the job. This is often called a straw man proposal, because it's made of straw. It's not meant to be rigorous or sturdy. It's meant for your fellow engineers to burn it, poke holes in it, rewrite it. But the whole point is that it gets the discussion going, right? That's where you want people to be. You ever notice how nobody seems to have an opinion until like one person shares theirs, and then suddenly everybody has an opinion? And usually it's to tell you that yours is wrong. Just go anywhere on the internet, you'll see this. But that's the whole point of a straw man, to get that discourse going, get it started. And in my mind, that's the kind of what AI is doing for us here. It's giving us a straw man. It's poorly done. It's brittle. It may or may not even work. In this case, it did. But it's an idea in writing, and that's worth something. Is it going to deliver dynamic server meshing? No. Is it going to help finish Genesis, the planet tooling CIG is working on? No. Is it going to finish the economic systems of Ashes of Creation? Nope. Will it create a quest? I think so. Yeah. You heard me right. Content is where I see AI being able to help us the most. I don't see it helping us much in developing systems or the rules of the game or the economic model or the physics systems or data storage patterns. I don't see it helping much at all in any of that, aside from, a straw man to kind of get us started. But I do see it helping us in telling stories, to help take the world or the universe that has been created by humans and to breathe some life or artificial life into it. Because once you have the rules of the game and you have a backstory and all that, AI has proven pretty adept at making content. There's been videos on YouTube of writers losing their jobs to AI, right? I don't know if you've seen any of those, and I'm not sure how sensational some of that was. I haven't looked deeply into it, but I sure can't imagine that like a non-premium content distributor, I can see them incorporating AI material, just for like extra views, extra clicks for like low investment. And I can see games incorporating AI generated content for sure. Will it be as good as human crafted stories? Not for a while. Will some of it make it will some of it make just no sense at all? Probably. But a lot of it will. And unlike humans, it'll just churn out endless streams of content. So it won't deliver us features, not anytime soon. You know, like, is it possible that AI will ever be good at writing software, like actual production ready software? I don't know. If it ever can, it is a long way off. I can tell you that. Like all the hoopla out there, like Mr. Microsoft here and a bunch of other people about, you know, needing a lot less developers or developers losing jobs to AI. I'm not buying into any of that noise. Is it possible that some companies try it? Yeah, it's possible. I don't think it's going to be a long-term trend. Not at all. But I do think it'll help us tell more stories. That's my take. No, a bunch of AI generated stories is not going to put Star Citizen 1.0 in our hands any faster. And, nor will AI really put any games in our hands any faster. Nor will it replace applications across the land or any good developers. AI can make a good developer a little faster, I think, as I've kind of outlined here, through some of that kickstarting that can help us do. But I think it makes bad developers worse. That's also my take. What are your takes? What parts of this do you agree with? What do you disagree with? What am I missing? Have any deep thoughts crossed your mind, like while watching this or before this, or as you were thinking about some of these issues on your own? I'd love to hear any and all of this in the comments. I hope this was interesting. Hope my take is clear. It's no. So it's definitely not going to get Star Citizen or any other game into our hands faster. But, I do hope that once these games are in our hands, that, 5-10 years from now, we start seeing a lot more like intelligently crafted, not procedural, but some real semi-artificially intelligent crafted content within the confines of the system. I think that would be the most interesting place for it. I could maybe even see it doing like just a much better job at dungeon generation in a game like Diablo than procedural could ever do. That would be an exciting place to see it fall. Anyway, join Discord if you haven't. I'd love to see you there. I'm always hanging out there, ready to converse on these kinds of topics, or Star Citizen, or any of the other games we play. So jump in. You'll find the link below, as well as the links to the video that we watched. And I'll be back Monday with the new weekly format I'm doing again. It's shaping up to be an interesting one. That's all I got. I'm going to leave it here. Hope you all have a great weekend, and I will catch you on Monday. Take care, all. Rollo out.